Welcome to Fieldsports Britain. Coming up, forget One Direction, it's more like motley crew as Euro hunting hacks join a bus tour that takes them deerstalking around the south of England. How did I miss that? Tim Pilbeam presents a new series on keeping your aim true. First, lamping bunnies, and Crow is hot on the heels of the rabbits. Andy is no technophobe. He's a smartphone Facebooking sort of guy, but when it comes to rabbit control, he feels nothing beats the lamp and the high-speed 17 HMR. Tonight, he is moving with the times. He is trying out a different style of attack. Having seen daylight images through the guide IR510, he wants to see how it performs in its natural environment, picking up body heat in pitch darkness. It's not the only thing giving him the upper hand tonight.
I brought my secret weapon with me tonight. The wife.
Hello.
Mrs. Crow is on lamp duty. She's suddenly well into her rabbit shooting as the crows are about to go on a post-harvest holes. If there are enough carcasses for the game dealer, then Duty Free will be calling and she can fill up with fragrances with the hard-earned bunny money. We had hoped to be truly stealth, combining the thermal with the front-mounted Pulsar DFA 75 on Crow's scope, but there's only so much technology plus cameras we can manage at a time, so we'll save the Pulsar for another night. On with the rabbiting, and Crow quickly falls in love with the guide. The rabbits know the sound of the buggy, but the thermal gives him an opportunity to get into a better shooting position before Mrs. C throws the light around.
I didn't think I'd say it, but I'm well impressed with it. I really am. We got a few wild rabbits over the other side. It was quite good that we could watch them. I could watch exactly what they were doing. I could drive to where I wanted. I could swing right-handed. I just tell the wife where they were and lamp, and it was brilliant. It's worked really well. I think if you had a full night vision kit on the rifle with that to spot them, I think that'd be the absolute dog's danglies. I really do.
As well as a means of connecting with rabbits, Crow can see just where the fallow deer are holding up. This buck walks past us as we sit in the field. The crows make a good team, but Andy does feel that the guide is giving them the edge.
Yeah, there was a couple there. I knew I got them, but it was quite long. The corn was quite long, and in some of the long right. We just looked through that, and we went straight up to him. There was one up the top. I was half sure I'd hit it, but wasn't confident that I'd got it. I thought it'd gone into the wood. Michelle, she looked through the thermal and said, "Yeah, you've got it," and I was pretty convinced I hadn't. Fair enough, we went down there and there it was laying there. So, plus a couple more that we shot out in the long stuff, you never would have found them. They kicked about and gone out into some long rape, but we found them with that, so it is a good tool. I was impressed with it.
Using the thermal, we guide Andy towards the dead rabbits, and after a couple of hours we have 18. It's been a weird few weeks on the rabbits, feast and famine.
Well, harvest there was a hell of a lot about, but we went out and me and Dom done a bit for the Sporting Shooter magazine. What we could see how many different species we could shoot in a day. Dom missed a rabbit in the morning at about 9 o'clock. I said, no worries, we won't have no trouble shooting rabbits. And we went out and shot 5 foxes and spent 2.5 hours driving around trying to shoot a bleeding rabbit. They are starting to come out of the woodwork now. We've had a bit of mixing about as well, so foxes will get fed tonight, come back in tomorrow night, shoot the foxes. So yeah, 18, it's alright, we've done alright, I've enjoyed it, been a good laugh. It's £18 towards the wife's perfume at Duty Free.
That bunny money is mounting and heading like a well-aimed 1-7 right towards the perfume counters of Gatwick. Thank you, Andy. And if you missed last week's outing on pigeons with thermal, click on the screen that's appeared there behind me. Now to another small frightened creature that likes to stay close to the ground. It's David on the Fieldsports Channel News Stump.
This is Fieldsports Channel News. It's the opening meets for foxhound packs all over the UK, and the antis are celebrating with violence. Masked saboteurs threatened hunt staff and invaded North Down Hunt kennels in Comber. Happily, the protesters may face police action for being in breach of Parade's Commission rules on staging demonstrations. Meanwhile, an anti-hunt campaigner in Wales has been found guilty of assaulting and harassing a terrierman after he shot a fox. We recently did a film about the work of the terrierman. Click on the link on the screen to watch it. Anti-hunters in the US are getting help from animal rights terrorists. A group led by a man who was jailed for an arson attack on a research facility hopes to stop the wolf management program in Wisconsin. Rod Coronado was sent to prison in 1995 in connection with an attack on Michigan State University. The government of South Dakota has made a film promoting the state as a great location for business and for hunting. The governor's office calls the state an outdoor paradise for sportsmen and businessmen alike. 2 South Africans have been arrested in the USA and charged with conspiracy to defraud American hunters. Dowie Greenwald and his brother Janneman Greenwald of Out of Africa Adventurous Safaris are in the dock in Alabama, charged with selling illegal rhinoceros hunts in South Africa, money laundering and secretly trafficking in rhino horns. And finally, an 11-year-old who shot an albino deer and posted pictures on the internet has received a mixed response. Of course, there was the now traditional sending and posting of hate mail, but then there were offers to go on hunting TV shows too. Gavin Dingman of Michigan shot the buck while supervised by his father, Mick Dingman, who says the boy kind of feels like a rock star right now. You are now up to date with Fieldsports Channel News. Stalking the stories, fishing for fact.
Thank you, David. Now, as a shooting writer, I have been to many low places. But this week, I'm going 5-star, Bucks Fizz and even a little bit Rihanna. The cream of the press arrive at London Airport, the finest shooting writers known to all of those magazines called Jagd, Jagd and Jäger. Curious, questing, keen to find out the latest for you, the reader. Here's the editor of UK hunting magazine Sporting Shooter, Dom Holton.
Don't expect any smiles, Charlie.
Dom, it's a press trip. Get with the programme. First stop is Bisley. The deer stalking starts tomorrow, so you will have to watch it next week. For this week's show, we are testing rifles and touring Bisley Camp, the beating heart of British shooting.
Hey guys, we are on the first step of our tour here in Britain.
I hope we see bigger game than that.
Hey guys, we are now on our first leg of the variety tour. Pretty crazy setup where you take a lot of journalists, hunting journalists, throw them in a bus, driving around the middle of Britain, and we have no idea what we're doing.
It's Rihanna's beaver.
Sorry.
So before we get into the shooting, let's look around the bus. This is the mirror that Christopher Clausen uses before he goes hunting. This is the bed that Igor Timmermans from Weidmann's Heil magazine will be sleeping in. And this is where they come after a really big hunt. Frankly, it's shocking. They do a lot of coke. The point of the shooting is to zero the rifles. Some people seem to be taking it as time off.
Don't tell anyone, because the office is only about 20 minutes that way, and if they find out I'm here and not there, there's going to be hell to pay.
Ammo company Hornady is here to show off its new SST. Zeiss has loaded us down with optics. It's a really good week for Zeiss, thanks to a court case between 2 other optics companies, Leica, Swarovski, never heard of them. Zeiss can now sell its new V8 Super Zoom scope in the UK as well as all the other European countries. What a relief! You won't see it in the shops right now, that will take another 4 weeks, but it will be here in time for Christmas. Some people were already trying to buy it abroad. Everyone else got angry. The V8 is light, compact, the V is for versatile, and you can use it for almost any hunting situation. Okay, delete the almost. Later we will see how this all works on real deer. In the meantime, here's what a company like Zawa gets out of a gig like this.
So the point of being here is just getting all our new products out into the field and get them tested by the hunting journalists. I mean, it's always better to just test the rifles and the gear just while hunting and not in a laboratory or somewhere. So we have several new models for the Zawa 101. So we have different stock shapes, different surface treatment, different barrel length, barrel shape. So everyone is unique for a certain situation. So Zeiss is bringing their V8 super zoom scopes, which very low and high magnification at the same time, so they are very flexible in using for different hunting situations, and it's again showing the huntability of these products in a lot of different situations.
Okay, so you don't know this, but there's a sort of rock star light above you, and if I move the camera, it looks like a kind of searchlight.
Weird.
It's very weird. Yeah. So that's it. The scene is set, the rifle's loaded, and the scopes zeroed. Over the next few days, we will be heading from Bisley via Bedfordshire to Gloucestershire, stalking on some of the most productive estates in England. To find out what happens, keep it Fieldsports Channel. Well, as the week goes on, and into next week, and probably the weeks after that, all these guys will be posting about the trip, and you can click on this link here if you're watching this on YouTube to go to a web page on our website that'll point you in all the right directions. Now, even the best of us miss, and often for the simplest of reasons. Here's Tim Pilbeam to explain how to mount a scope. In shooting, control is key. Your breathing, posture, then there's zero, the ammo. You may think you have all the bases covered, but now and again the bullet doesn't fly true. How do you fix it? With so many variables, including human error, it can be incredibly frustrating. Tim Pilbeam experienced this firsthand with a rifle he'd been shooting for 5 years.
Very, very good quality rifle. I had to change the barrel, the moderator, and what it was in the end is actually the mounts had come loose. And it was such a simple thing. I was so cross with myself, so I popped the mounts off, retightened them, checked all of them, put it back on again, and it was back to where it should have been.
So the lesson is, start with the basics, and today rifle reviewer Tim is going to talk through how he mounts a scope. There are plenty of specialist tools out there, but this is about getting the glass on top of the rifle as securely and efficiently as a toolbox and a shed will allow.
Today we are going to be looking into how to fit a scope to a rimfire rifle. There's some really obvious things there but perhaps we're missing, so hopefully today if I can just go through the bits and pieces and hopefully we'll learn something. We've got a pair of sports match mounts here, and we're going to mount the scope up. And we see at the moment the mounts are too far apart for the scope. They shouldn't be anywhere near where the scope expands. Whereabouts do we put it? And this is very much governed by the eye relief. The eye relief is actually the distance between the shooter's eye and the ocular or the rear lens of the scope. And also make sure we haven't got any cant. Canting is when the actual reticle itself is slightly twisted. So how do we work out what's the most comfortable eye relief? What I do, I just lift the rifle up, mount it up to my shoulder and just look through it. I put the rifle on about mid-range power, in this case about 6 to 7. Mount it up, and if I move that scope back, I start having problems looking through the actual scope. It starts clouding around the outside. If I move it too far away, I have the same problem. So I've got to sit there and I just move that until I can see the whole sight picture.
While Tim plays with the eye relief, let's hear about the company which has been engineering scope mounts for more than 40 years.
My father started the company in 1972. He came from a motor racing and design background and started to design his own products for the shooting industry. He was a hobby shooter and he couldn't obtain good enough scope mounts, so he thought he'd make his own. The German ones were too expensive and the Chinese and Korean ones creaked under recoil, so he designed some that didn't move.
The sports match mounts are easy to spot. They're the ones with the blue dots. They were out in force at a recent Hunter Field Target competition, but the company develops mounts for all types of precision shooting.
We supply the military and police and special forces around the world. British made, with a lifetime guarantee, and that speaks for itself really.
Let's move on to that all-important tightening, and you'd be surprised just how little force you will need.
Base mounts. A lot of people over-tighten base mounts. Most base mounts are around 30 to 40 inch-pounds, which most people have got no idea what inch-pound is, quite honestly. So if I just show you what it does with a torque wrench, then we'll do it with the Allen key. Okay, if I do 2 mounts here, they've tightened to 40-inch pounds. How tight is 40-inch pounds? Well, let's just demonstrate this with the Allen key. Right, if you watch this, actually, I can still quite easily tighten that even further. Yeah, I'm not putting a lot of pressure on the Allen key, so they're not that tight. So do not over tension them. If you over tension them, you stretch the bolts and the actual mounts themselves actually become affected. And also the worst thing about it is sometimes you can't get the mounts off with people over tightened. And I have a lot of rifles coming into me where I can't get the scopes off with people who've actually overwound, damaged the Allen key or the torque settings, and I can't get them out. It's quite a problem actually. Now tightening these rings up, there's a couple of things here which are fairly obvious, but a lot of people do actually miss. First of all, when we tighten them up, we want to have the same clearance, the same gap on both sides of the mount. So I'll do one side, then I go diagonally to the other side. Don't tighten one side up on the other side, just keep cutting across. So my front ones now are torqued up to 25-inch pounds. How tight is 25-inch pounds? I'm going to put that across, and then with my thumb, my finger there, actually, it's not actually that tight. If you over tighten these screws, there's several problems here. First of all, you have a hell of a job to get them out, and secondly, it will actually, in some cases, you can actually crush the tube of the scope, which you do not want to do. So it's very, very important. You've got very, very expensive optic here. It's very important to actually get these screws tensioned properly. And there we have. We've got hopefully a well-aligned sight. Let's have a double check. Eye relief looks pretty good. My scope's very well aligned as well. So I'm very happy with that. So now we've got a properly mounted scope ready for zeroing.
Next time we're on the range, Tim will show just how much loosening your mounts affects accuracy. For more information about SportsMatch, go to sportsmatchuk.com. Thank you, Tim. And over the next few weeks, there'll be more tidbits from him and from SportsMatch. Now, Hunting YouTube this week is devoted to some of the writers on the bus with me. This is Hunting YouTube, devoted this week to films by the European hunting writers I am joining today on our variety tour, deer stalking in the south of England. So this is what some of them are up to on YouTube. Ulf Lindroth from Sweden puts out his films on Andreas Norrin's channel. He has been on Fieldsports Channel in the past, showing off his skills as a shot show-off. This is ptarmigan with bird dogs. Igor Timmermans from the Netherlands runs Dutch hunting magazine Weidmannsheil. Here he is out after wild boar and red deer in Hohenfels, Germany. Christopher Clausen came onto Fieldsports Channel to tell us what it's like eating a fox. A star of YouTube, this is his most popular film. The only other Englishman on the trip is Dom Holtam, editor of Sprouting Shorter, Spitting Shouter, Spurting Shyster, something like that. He is well known to the authorities. If you see him, do not approach. He has a channel but can be found all over YouTube like a rash. Jens Ulrik Hoeg is the editor of Danish online magazine Mit Jagtblad and an all-round good guy. He even wrote an article for Shooting Times magazine this month. This is a film from his channel about bow hunting musk ox in Greenland. Florian Standke is from Jagter Leben, which makes beautifully shot, rather serious films. We are expecting Florian to be solemn. And then there are the sponsors. Here is a film that Florian's company Jagter Leben made for Zeiss about the Victory V8 scope, which is one of these super top kit items we will be using this week. And Zauer is providing the rifles. Here is well-known German race-stalker Klaus Demmel calling in the bucks on the Zauer channel while wielding a Zauer 202. That's it for this week. Normal service resumes next week. If you have a YouTube film you would like us to pop into the weekly top 8, send it in via YouTube or email me the link, charlie@fieldsportschannel.tv. Well, if you don't like them, there's always Airheads with the best air gunning on YouTube. This week we've got the ABC of HFT.
Love HFT.
On test are the SpyPoint BF12 HD wildlife camera and the Hawk Air Max 30 SF scope. News leads with the squirrel that kickstarted a panda, and Air Streaming has the best air gunning on YouTube. Click on the link on the screen for more. Well, we are back next week. Please subscribe. Please go to our website, fieldsportschannel.tv, where you can click to like us on Facebook or follow us on Twitter. This has been Field Sports Britain. Good hunting, good shooting, good fishing, and goodbye.